From 9 on Your Side Sports, Cincinnati's longest-running sports talk show on television. This is Sports of All Sorts with Reggie Wilson.
What up? Welcome to the show. Bengals came into Sunday still seeking that first win, and they ended Sunday still winless. Let's show you how it went down in Baltimore. Bengals on the road, taking on the Ravens. Got off to a promising start. Zach Taylor says he wants the team to start fast. This is as fast as it gets. Brandon Wilson, no relation to me, takes the opening kickoff 92 yards to the house. Cincinnati goes up 7-0. Baltimore answers real quick. Lamar Jackson with a monster game today, runs it in from 21 yards out to tie the game, 111 yards rushing in the first half. He's the first QB since Michael Vick to go over 100 in the first half of a game. Let's go to the second. Bengals in the red zone, and this is Bad Andy right here. Picked off by Marlon Humphrey. That one didn't have a chance, but the Orange and Black get a gift on the ensuing drive. Jackson hits Mark Andrews, and can we stop doing this? That is dangerous. The hurdle, the ball pops up, Nick Vigil comes down with it, and there is life. But the Bengals, once again, settle for a field goal. The offense hasn't scored a first-half touchdown since Week 2 against San Francisco. Yikes. Fourth quarter, Bengals had a chance, but Lamar Jackson leads the Ravens on a near 10-minute drive to milk the clock. He had a day. 236 yards through the air, 152 on the ground. Bengals score in garbage time. Andy Dalton goes in for the only offensive touchdown on the day, and that spike says, I am fed up with this. I think we all are. Ravens win 23-17. Bengals now 0-6.
You had guys trying to get us back in it. There was no quit. It was frustrating. Trust me, we're frustrated. You can throw every stat at me you want. We're not scoring points. We're not scoring touchdowns. Our red zone efficiency is terrible. But the bottom line is we're 0-6, and our team's got more fight than anybody I've ever been around. And I just told them, when we do find that win, it's going to be the most rewarding win you've ever had in your entire life.
We're not here to lose. That's not where we go out there and practice all day and try to get these wins. So we got to go out there and try to get a big win. I mean, that first one, hopefully we can start everything rolling, but we got to get one, and we got to keep fighting each and every week, working hard at practice to try to get that win.
I got my Bengals with me once again to break down what we saw today. Jim Breach, the leading scorer in franchise history, and Rodney Heath, who played 3 seasons with the squad. Fellas, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Reg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Probably better than the Bengals right now.
Yeah, it's better to be sitting here talking about it than having to experience it, because both of us have been there.
Yeah.
Wow. What are your initial thoughts after this loss today, yet another loss?
Well, I mean, my first thought was, they got to figure out a way to stop it. I mean, every week we keep coming back to this. I mean, you identify the problem, and it's really up front, both sides of the ball. I mean, if you can't stop the run and you can't run the ball, I don't see how you can expect to have ball control and as well be able to win games. And like we talked about before, trying to get the ball into your playmakers' hands, and right now you're still trying to figure out who the playmakers are on offense. And on the defensive side, I mean, if we can't stop the run, there's no need to try and, play man-to-man and all the coverages they play, because we're not playing to catch up. I mean, we're not playing to stop them the way we should. We should be getting after them, and that's one of the tough things I've been seeing.
And so with this game, you start fast, that opening kickoff. Mm-hmm. It was nice to get a score from one of the other sides of the ball. When you saw that, was it like, uh-oh, maybe this week might be different?
It was great. I mean, they're struggling to score, so any way of scoring is great. The concerning thing, though, is and Baltimore comes right back, and then if you saw Lamar Jackson takes it around the corner. It continues to amaze me how they cannot set an edge. How do you get over there and you let these guys go around the edge? You come in when the guy does a play fake, and they just dive in, and he walks around the corner. I mean, it's like all game long. Yeah. He's averaging 60 yards a game rushing. He goes for 150-something. Kyler Murray had 93 yards. That's the most he's had by far all season. I mean, some of these quarterbacks, they're really talented, but other teams are finding ways to slow them down.
First-time play caller on the defense. I know that was brought up a lot today. Does that matter much?
I think one of the things you're looking at, I mean, whatever he's calling, you're talking about Lou, I mean, whatever he's calling out there, I mean, you got to have the guys out there to do. I mean, you're playing against run-pass option. Like you said, they had a chance to stop Murray last week, and then you come into another game where it's 2 mobile quarterbacks like that. And knowing Lou, he likes to get after the guys. And I think that's where they're kind of lacking too, though. it's a whole dynamic. You know, they used to be known for our defensive front where we can stay back a little bit and four-man rush could take care of everything. But right now, you don't have those guys to be able to match up with it. So like you said, other teams are stopping them. But I think it's more than just the D coordinator. I think it's also the personnel and what you have, preferably in the linebacking core as well. I mean, I love Preston in the middle and Vigil as well, but you got to have the secondary guys that's going to come in and help out to contain that guy.
You know, it's interesting, the Buffalo game and the Arizona game and then this game, second half, they make some. They slow them down. I mean, they only scored 6 points in the second half.
Right.
And unfortunately, the Bengals offense can't seem to get it going until the end of the game. And they come up. I don't know if there's a sense of urgency. I don't know if they play. You know, they're at the line and they're making things happen more quickly. But it happened last week with 2 quick scores. It happened this week. It happened against Buffalo. Things are happening late in the fourth quarter, but they have to do it earlier. If they're going to find ways to get some scores at that point, let's figure out a way to do it earlier in the game.
What's the problem there, do you think, that, you know, Zach says every week that we want to start fast. They had 6 total yards in the first quarter. That's not going to get it done. We talked, you know, off camera about.
Here's part of the reason. Your first possession is a touchdown, so you don't get the ball. So now they get the ball. They drive down. They take a lot of time off the clock. You go out. You're out in a couple of plays. You have 6 yards. Then they go on another long possession. And pretty soon, you know, when you rush for 260 yards, you're hanging on the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Injuries are piling up for this team, too. Drake Kirkpatrick went down. That looked bad because he got carted off.
You didn't have Dunlap to start.
No. So how big for this team that's already just getting beat down with injuries to have suffered this one with Dre?
No, I mean, it's huge, actually. I mean, you got to have, of course, we always talk about the next man stepping up. But it's huge when you go into a game plan where you planning for a certain guy to be able to make plays. And now, like you said, the next guy's stepping in. And that's part of being a professional about everything when you go out there. That's why I told you before with the defensive coordinator. And I talked about speaking strictly from the defensive side, because there is too much time that the other offense gets to have the ball, so our offense doesn't get a lot of chances to try and get that running game going. And that's part of the problem, too. I think when they get a little bit more understanding of what they're trying to do in the concept and how you're going to stop a run-pass option, they don't have to worry about that this coming week. Maybe it's back to normal stuff and what they can do. I think they can get better with it. I still think they have the guys. They might be missing a couple pieces, but like you said, when you get injuries, that throws you back a lot. And now it's for the next man that has to step up.
So then that becomes part of depth, right? Mm-hmm. And the really good teams, they find a way. I mean, look at New England. They lost 2 or 3 offensive linemen. I mean, starting offensive linemen. And, yeah, they're struggling a little bit on offense, but they're still putting up 400 yards a game. They're still finding ways to create opportunities and getting the ball in the end zone.
That's right. Good teams find a way. So my last question real quick. They started off 2008, 0-8. The schedule doesn't get any easier from here. They got the Jags next week. When do you see the team getting their first win?
I think the one will probably be an unexpected one. Mm-hmm. You know, you just could be next week. You know, because if you think about it, they're in games.
Yeah.
And one of those games, something falls their way. You know, they make a play, a tip pass or something ends up, instead of going to the defensive back, it goes to the Bengals defensive back, or it tips into the wide receiver and they get a score or something. So, you know, some of these field goals turn into touchdowns. All of a sudden, you got to win.
All right, well, maybe when they go to London, you know, against Sean McVay, Rams have been struggling. Maybe you can do it.
Hey, it could be. That would be apropos, wouldn't it?
It really would.
That'd be a nice flight home.
That's true. Long, nice flight. That's right. Well, Jim, Rodney, thanks so much for taking the time.
No problem, man.
Spend with me as you do every Sunday. We'll do it again next week.
Got it.
Thanks, Reg.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll be right back. Back to Saturday. Bearcats down in H-Town taking on the Houston Cougars. What a game this was. Desmond Ridder had 50 yards on the ground. 13 of them came on this first quarter touchdown run. You see on the board 7-0. After a Ridder interception leads to a Houston field goal, this is how you like to see the QB1 respond. 75-yard bomb to Rashad Medeiros to put UC up 14-3. Defense gave up some big plays, but they also made some. Javon Hicks putting on for Cole Rain. one of his 2 picks on the day. He also recovered a fumble, gives it back to the offense. Ritter hooks up with his boy, Josiah DeGara. Easy pitch and catch for 6. Bearcats back up 2 scores, 21-10. Houston did a good job hanging around. 4-point game, early 4th quarter. Ritter finds Michael Warren, and Warren finds the end zone. Ritter goes 14 of 24, 293 yards, and 4 touchdowns. UC up 28-17. Houston played the QB carousel all game until the Bearcats finally had enough of that. Put the game away late. Brian Wright tips the pass. Perry Young comes up with it for the pick 6. 5 takeaways on this day, 9 in the last 2 weeks. Bearcats improved to 5-1 with the 38-23 win. So, Coach, how about that defensive performance?
Huge. I mean, it's a momentum get, especially when you're kind of, shaky a little bit here and there and switching around the quarterbacks, not exactly sure, but, they just kept playing. We got to get some things shored up. Penalties-wise is a big deal for us. But when you get turnovers, you got a chance to be really good.
All right, joining us tonight is a friend of the program, JT Smith from the Front Office News covering the Bearcats. JT, how you feeling?
Doing good, man. How about yourself, Ray?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me tonight. All right, so I thought you were at the game yesterday, but you just checked it out just like we did. You just watched it on the tube, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so after a day to process this, what are your thoughts about the win?
It's a win. A road win. It's huge. It wasn't the prettiest win, but at the end of the day, you got to get out. You got out of Houston with a dub. That's all that matters, man. Go down to H-Town, get some love, and get the dub.
Yeah, hopefully they got some good food, too. But, I called it like a trap game because, you got the big win over UCF, so prime for a letdown, but they didn't let that get to them. It looked kind of scary for a second, though.
Definitely, especially after having one of the biggest games in the school's history pretty much, and then you go down there and you hear all these people not playing and all this and all that, and they get down there, and it was looking hairy for a little bit, but the defense made plays and the offense made enough plays to get out of there.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that offense. Ritter, he had a solid day, used his legs and in the air. Michael Warren didn't have to do much. What did you think of how the offense played?
It was them. I think Houston did a good job in trying to take away Warren from the Bearcats because they had a weaker, running defense. So with Ritter being able to make a few big plays, it just, made it easier for him to make the reads, I think, just to, get the Houston defense to back up.
All right. The defense. Okay, so they had 5 takeaways, right? But they also gave up 424 yards and 3 touchdowns. And so they let Houston stay in the game for probably a lot longer than most people wanted to see. Is that something that concerns you going forward about that unit?
Honestly, I don't, just because this game was a real live trap game. You win.
It really was.
Yeah, it was a super trap game. So it was one of those games where you had one of the biggest games, not even, 8 days ago, and then you go down in Houston. I don't know if they were a favorite, but people that follow the Bearcats, they had them as a favorite. We're like, all right, they should beat Houston.
Right.
And it just showed that they're a big play team or a big opportunist team. But I think because of the style of the game and who they were playing, Dana Holgerson is a heck of an offensive coach, and it just was a little hairier than people kind of wanted it to be.
Yeah, so they basically weathered the storm. So, All right, so UC moved up to number 21 today, so that's positive. They got Tulsa. They host Tulsa next week. And then, the schedule is what the schedule is what do you feel like the team is going to do? How do you feel like they're going to stack up coming down the stretch, big picture?
Big picture, I feel like Tulsa should be a gimme game. Then they'll have a bye. ECU should be a gimme game, even though it's on the road. The USF game is going to be one of those trap games, kind of, because they have talent. They're not playing as good as everybody kind of expects them to play. But I think they should win that one. And then you got the big 2 coming down to finish it off with, I think Temple then Memphis. So honestly, right now, the way they're playing, because they haven't played like a full 60 minutes of great football yet, which is a good thing. You're 5-1. So honestly, if everything goes out right, I feel like maybe only lose one game, possibly. Maybe they can win all of them, but I feel like maybe one game trips them up, possibly. But they should have a double-digit win season going on.
All right, well, hopefully they don't get tripped up on Saturday hosting Tulsa. JT, thanks so much for joining me tonight. You come back anytime, all right?
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back. Our last guest tonight is none other than our very own Mike Dyer, who is the go-to for all things high school sports. Thanks for stopping by, Mike. How you doing?
Thanks, Reggie. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is a first for us.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. So
all right. Well, let's talk
Great to talk high school football.
Let's talk some high school. So Fairfield was playing awesome this season. 7-0 for the first time in program history. You were there on Friday night. How special is this team, and how far do you think they can go?
You know what, Reggie? They are very special, and it all starts with Jaton McClain. They're outstanding senior running back, going to the University of Kentucky. But it goes beyond that, too.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk to Coach Jason Krause, he'd say he was most proud of not only Jaton, but his defense as well. And you could see the effort, whether it be senior linebacker Phoenix Porter, the Eastern Illinois commit, the junior defensive lineman Brandon Smith. They just fly to the ball, and they really took care of business, especially in that second half against the Vikings.
They're so good, and it's like when they played against Princeton, Princeton had a little bit of a surge there, and it was like, uh-oh, this is going to be good. And then McClain just bust that long run, and it's just like, nope.
A couple of weeks ago, I talked to a few of their offensive linemen. I said, what's it like blocking for this guy? And they were just honest. They said, just give him a little bit of a crease, and he just takes it to the house, and it's just fun to watch. He makes magic, as one of the linemen told me, and he's definitely electrifying anytime he gets the football.
Wow, UK is going to be happy to have them, but they're going to be happy to have him for their playoff stretch run.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're talking about a guy who he's got 47 career rushing touchdowns right now, Reggie. I mean, he's over 1,000 yards rushing on the season. He really can do so many different things. I mean, just that speed. It's just give it to McClain and see what happens. Princeton did a nice job. I'll give the Vikings some credit there in the first half defensively, kind of contained him. But they have other weapons as well. I mean, they have guys that Jaden Mays, their junior playmaker, who's done an outstanding job. Phil Thomas, another player who kind of stood out there on special teams Friday night. So it's not just Jaton, but when you have a guy like that you can say, hey, if we're in a bind and we need to get a lot of yards, give him the football, and I mean, he can do some special things.
Absolutely. So Fairfield is at the top. All right, let's talk a little bit about who's at the bottom. So who do you see getting out of this with these GMC schools? You got Princeton, Sycamore, Lakota East, Hamilton, and Mason all fighting for a spot, and then Lakota East and Hamilton, they end their season against each other. How is this all going to play
That's
out?
why I rely on Steve Shuck, the Greater Miami Conference Commissioner, Reggie, because I'll be eagerly awaiting his projections and charts here probably by Monday or Tuesday, and we'll have that for you on WCPO.com. But this may be the first time in talking to Steve that 6 GMC teams could make the playoffs right there in Region 4. So obviously an outstanding accomplishment if that all comes to fruition. But yeah, as you mentioned, that number 8 spot, Lakota East, Mason, Hamilton, Sycamore, I mean, Princeton's still alive. You know what, I look at the schedules right now. I think East has maybe the most challenging of them right now. At West this week, they play Coleraine still, and then they finish with Hamilton. Princeton has a good shot. I mean, they play Oak Hills this week at West and then against Mason. So, and I like what's happening over in Hamilton. Nate Mahan's really turned that program around, 2003 grad. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Big Blue in the playoffs if they can kind of put things together here the next 3 weeks.
All right, so I had a lot more I wanted to talk to you about, but of course we don't have enough time. But I do want to talk a little bit about Winton Woods. They sit number 8 in Joe Idle's rankings right now. They still got Elder and LaSalle on their schedule. How do you think this plays out for Winton Woods?
You know what? Again, I'll rely on Steve Shuck and what he said. He says that Winton Woods needs to beat Elder or LaSalle in order to get
just one
playoffs.
or the other.
Right. So they have Elder this week at home, then they're at LaSalle in week 9. And again, Winton Woods only has a 9-game schedule. That does not hurt them when it comes to the numbers or anything. But Reggie, you're talking about arguably the toughest schedule in the entire state, regardless of division. Had back-to-back losses against Lakewood St. Edwards, and then Christian Brothers, a powerhouse, a 6A powerhouse out of St. Louis. No shame in that. They put up 31 points both those weeks. But again, you have to rely on the running game and Mayan Williams, and I think it's a lot of the success is going to be predicated on what he can do here in the next 2 weeks.
All right, so it's going to be an exciting last few weeks of the regular season to see who, sneaks in, who gets in, the positioning for playoff positioning. But I'm glad that you have the position sitting next to me tonight. So thanks a lot for joining me tonight.
Thanks,
and we'll
Reggie.
do it again sometime.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back. After our program is In Depth with Graham Benzinger. Here's what he has on tap for this week.
This week we're in San Francisco spending the day with Charles Schwab. The billionaire entrepreneur opens up about pivotal moments and personal sacrifice.
I do have regrets, but you know, those are little chunks of life that happen, and there are reasons why it happened.
Plus, we hit the links with the avid golfer.
A lot of talent there, a lot of talent.
All that's coming up next and in depth right here on 9 on Your Side.
Thanks, Graham. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but we got to go. I'd like to take a moment to thank our guests, Jim Breach, Rodney Heath, JT Smith, and Mike Dyer for joining us tonight. And to my village who helped put this all together. We hope you enjoyed the show. Let's do it again next Sunday. Till then, thanks for watching. Have a good night and a very blessed week.